Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. What if the Uzumaki elders to Naruto away from Konoha? Harem Part 4. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this and comment for next part. And now let's start the fanfic. Well, that's why I'm gonna teach you how to make clothing from their fur, and then you can leave what you don't use out for other animals to take advantage of. She said with a smile on her face. Okay, that will work, he said as he gently picked up the dead raccoon. And so for the next several months, Naruto was taught how to live in the forests. He was taught how to hunt when the best time for it was. He was taught how to skin and cook animals, what plants were okay to eat, how to get clean water, and most importantly how to scavenge. He would search for some of the kunai that he knew ninja had and found some lying in some of the training grounds. He used them in his hunts. He was also instructed to create a bow from Akari who had been teaching the boy how to fight, indirectly of course. He had several different wooden tools that he could use to skin, clean, and cook different animals. He was even able to make some of the furs into different clothing. He had gained a good amount of weight and had quite a muscular build for a 3-year-old. He still had somewhat large amounts of baby fat on his face and arms, but thanks to his high meat and veggie diet, he was very lean and had slightly developed muscles. He was also taught how to communicate with the animals and had now even made friends with some of the creatures in the forest like the deer and the foxes. Even if the animals couldn't talk to him, he almost could feel like they knew what he was saying to an extent. He also somehow knew their responses when he talked to them. Akari was quite pleased with the way that the boy was progressing and thought that now would be a good time to start the second part of his training. She smiled inwardly wondering what Naruto's experience was going to be like opening his chakra for the first time but was to wait to tell him until he returned to the cave where he called home. Akari and some foxes had led him to a cave that was in a place known as the Forest of Death 3 months ago. He didn't know why it was called that. While yes, he thought that the forest was quite dark, there wasn't much death in it. He was able to understand and hence the territories of major predictors like the panthers and cougars that lived in the forest and was able to mostly stay away from those areas. Akari has instructed him to find a cave, and with the help of the foxes in the forest, he was able to find a very large one. Naruto-kun, Akari asked, which got the blonde's attention. Yes, Ka-chan, he responded as he entered his cave. It had several bear and elk skins lying on top of a straw mat which was where he slept. There were different wooden and stone weapons that he used. There was also a place where he stored clothing which was also made out of different furs. It's time for you to start the next part of your training, she said, which made the boy's eyes widen. For the past 4 or so months, he had just been hunting and trying to survive. He had totally forgotten about his other training that his mother said he was going to give him. Naruto was very excited. He always pestered his mother for stories and most of the time she would. She told him stories about some of the adventures she had gone on before she was sealed almost 40 years ago. One, she would tell him about her travels around the world, her friends, the other tailed beast, she would even sometimes let him sleep in the mindscape. What will he be doing? He asked with shock still laced in his voice. Today, you will be unlocking your chakra, she said with a smile on her face. She knew that for all young children it was a milestone, but for Naruto, it was going to be something special. Now Naruto-kun, I want you to remind me what chakra is, she said in a tone that meant that she was in sensei mode as Naruto liked to call it. While he was in the cave, Akari would teach Naruto history and about the world since he didn't have the tools to learn how to read and write. Well, it's the life force that makes up everything. It is in all people and living things. It flows through the world in different patterns. You once said that a human or animal can make different kinds of chakra. Elemental chakra can be formed into the 5 elements: wind, lightning, water, fire, and earth. He explained, which made Akari smile. She knew that he was retaining the information that she was giving him. That is correct, Naruto-kun. Now the next step is to actually unlock your chakra. She said with a large smile on her face. She just knew she was going to be in for a surprise. All right, Datbeo. The boy yelled into his cave. But, how do I do it? He asked as he nervously moved his hand behind his head. Well, all you have to do is sit in the lotus position and look within yourself. You should find something warm and soothing and warm. When you feel that, I want you to pull. Pull as hard as you can until you feel that feeling overwhelm you. She explained, which made the child excited. All right, sounds easy enough, Naruto said with a smile on his face. He sat down on one of the skinned mats and got into the lotus position. He closed his eyes and started to focus on himself so that he could find his chakra. With deep steady breaths, he began to mentally feel all the sensations of his surroundings. He was able to feel the trees outside, the grass, the animals, everything. He started to try and pull this chakra into him, which made him feel peaceful. Akari was watching his progress very closely in case she needed to intervene and stop the poor boy before he hurt himself. She knew that Naruto had potential, but even she was astonished at what the boy was able to accomplish. He's using nature chakra. He's actually using nature chakra. A 3-year-old is using nature chakra. And he still hasn't found his own yet. This is incredible, she thought to herself as she continued to feel the foreign chakra slowly flowing into his body. After 20 minutes of using nature chakra, she decided to tell him to keep going deeper inside of himself. He complied, and after a few hours, he finally found it. Alright, now all I gotta do is yank. Come on, Naruto, don't disappoint Ka-chan. You don't want to lose her too. He thought to himself as he started to pull on the ball of warmth that was inside of him. He continued to pull and yank on the ball until it finally burst inside of him. He felt this warm and tingly sensation throughout his entire body. He also found that he could now see the flow with his eyes closed. He could sense all the animals around him in the entire forest. He could even feel some of the people around him within a 5-mile radius of him. He had just discovered that he was able to sense other people's chakras. On top of that, he could also now feel a unique connection with the trees and the foliage. It was interesting to him. It almost felt like he knew how the trees felt in a sense. 2. Akari was speechless. The amount of power and potency of this 3-year-old's chakra was unheard of. Knowing that a 3-year-old possessed more chakra than most 23-year-olds was crazy to her. His chakra capacity was that of a low chunin or high genin at the age of 3. He's incredible. The raw power and potential are insane. By the time he enters the academy, he'll have the reserves of a low jonin. Who knows how much he'll have as a 16-year-old. He might be on the level of tailed beasts by that time. And that's not even considering my full power. I'm glad that idiot didn't split me in half. She thought to herself inside of the mindscape. Akari wasn't the only one who noticed the large spike in chakra. All of the forest animals had noticed it and were all looking at the cave with varied reactions. The deer and foxes were smiling wildly while the wolves and bears were in awe. The panthers and cougars didn't really care. Outside of the forest, however, was a totally different story. Hokage Tower. Hiruzen Sarutobi was many things. He was the Kami no Shinobi, the professor, the leader of men, the third Hokage. Speechless was not one of those things. He was currently looking out of his crystal ball at his grandson, Naruto. He had just seen him hunting in the forest and now he was unlocking his chakra. That was when he felt it. There's no way that was him, he whispered to himself as he watched chakra radiating off of the boy's body. This is so dense. Let alone the fact he's a 3-year-old. This is more than most academy students have. How does he have this much? The aged man thought to himself as he continued to ignore the paperwork on his desk and watch the boy meditate. Suddenly the door to his office burst open and 2 Anbu agents ran inside. They both stopped and kneeled in front of their leader and saluted. Hokage-sama, Kakashi said in an emotionless voice. Dog, cat, you may remove your masks. The aged man said with a smile. Both the agents immediately took off their masks and looked at the man with surprise written all over their faces. Hokage-sama, did you feel that? Yugao asked the man who nodded his head. Yes, I did feel it. Usually, when a child unlocks their chakra, it is a lot less powerful. However, in the case of this individual, it is very powerful. He said with a smirk. Was it him? Kakashi asked with his eyebrow raised. He had a feeling he knew exactly who the man was talking about but wanted to make sure. Yes, Sarutobi said with a smile on his face. It was him. Both Yugao and Kakashi looked at each other with hope in their eyes. They had been clinging onto that hope since the night all three of them agreed on a plan. Flashback. How can we lose him again? Yugao asked as she looked in yet another ally of Konoha. I honestly don't know. Maybe Kami is playing a prank on us. Kakashi replied as he checked another ally close by. Kushina-sensei would surely have killed us by now. The purple-haired teen said with slight fear in her voice. And we wouldn't have had Minato-sensei to calm her down this time, Kakashi said as he turned to face his best friend. Maybe we should ask the Hokage. Are you insane? Yugao yelled at her friend. Maybe you hit your head too on that mission to the land of noodles the other day. 3. Yugao teased, which made the boy sigh. It's not my fault that the guy set up explosive tags that activated when you stepped on a tree. How was I supposed to know that it was even there? He yelled at his friend who laughed at him. I was the laughing stock of HQ for a week. Well then, Kakashi-kun, maybe you should have watched where you were going, Yugao said with a smirk. At least I didn't fall asleep during a play. Kakashi retorted, which made Yugao blush. It was boring, she replied, which made Kakashi laugh. It was also a part of the mission, he said with a smirk on his face, thinking he got the last laugh. But I do think we should talk to the Hokage. I guess you're right, she sighed and started walking towards the office. Kakashi looked at his longtime friend and went to cheer her up. He's probably fine. He could be dead. Kakashi. Do you remember how we found him 2 months ago? Nearly dead. He was nearly dead 2 months ago. What if there was another attack him? She started yelling at her friend who stopped walking behind her. What if he's dead? You say he's fine, but do you really think that? She turned around and looked him dead in the eyes. My mother was killed when I was 3 at the start of the war. My father was a drunk who got run over by a Ing shopping cart and snapped his neck. I didn't have any siblings. Then Kushina-sensei basically adopted me towards the end of the war. I became a part of the family. Then she told me I was going to get an Otudo. 4. I was ecstatic. Then she gives birth, and do you know what her last words were to me? Take care of my Masuko. 5. On her dying breath. So yes, Kakashi, I'm terrified of him dying. She screamed at him as she cried. Okay, he whispered as he was on the verge of tears. Okay, she said as she walked closer to him. That's all you have to say is, okay. Alright, you think I'm not terrified as well? He yells at her, which made her step back. I've been trying to calm down. Think logically. He's my Otudo too. Minato-sensei gave me very clear instructions to raise him with you if he and Kushina were to die. I saw the light fade from him on that night too. He told me to be strong. That he was happy. I'm trying, I really am, but we can't do anything. We can't. I want to see my Oto just as much as you do, but we can't. He yelled at his best friend, and he did something that shocked both of them. He cried. Kakashi hadn't cried in years, but he cried. I want him to. It's not just you. Damn it, I want to see him smile just as much as you do. I want to be a good knee. 6. Just as much as you want to be his knee. 7. But we can't. He looked at Yugao, who was also crying, and grabbed her hand. They both ran straight into the Three Roads office. It was almost midnight and both were shocked to see him looking at them with a sad frown on his face. Hokage-sama, I know why you're here, Kakashi, he said with a pained voice. I saw and heard what happened, and I'm sorry you. But what? Yugao screamed at him. She walked right up to him and took off her mask and looked him dead in the eyes. But you can't allow us to see him. You can't allow him to have even a shred of happiness. What can you allow Hokage-sama? She yelled at him with tears streaming down her face. I watched my adopted mother die in my arms. Her last wish, her dying breath was to take care of her son. And what have we been doing? Letting him get beaten, tortured, and starved to death before he turns 4 years old. She said as she watched the man flinch. I know all about it. You think I enjoy doing this? The aged man said with pain filling his being. You think I like watching as the son of my successor, my good friends, get beaten and mauled by the villagers. Hell, even my soldiers don't care about him. But I can't. The council went over my head. The only thing I can do is give him protection, and even that they took away from me. He said in a defeated tone of voice. Hell, I bet the fox is doing a better job than we are. Kyuubi was Kushina's best friend. I had a hunch when he went into that forest. I had a hunch at the hospital that he was talking to her. He had the same far-off look in his eyes as Kushina did when she talked to her. Now granted, I never liked the idea of them talking. Even now I'm weary of it happening, but she's doing a better job than we are. He sighed and looked at his most trusted agents. He looked at the pain that both of them had so visibly on their faces. We have to do something. Yugao yelled at the man. He's alone. We made promises to both Minato and Kushina that we would take care of them. All three of us are going to be screwed in the afterlife when they find us. Hell, I can sense the beatdown now, she said with a slight smile. Wait. Sense. That's it, Sarutobi said with a smile on his face. Kakashi looked at his leader with worry. I think he's actually lost it this time. What do you mean, Hokage-sama? Yugao asked as she took a step back. Kyuubi is probably going to train Naruto. She's keeping him in the forest of death and is probably teaching him how to survive. I have a feeling that she's also going to unlock his chakra in the next few years so that he can train to protect himself. Sarutobi explained, hoping that one of them would catch on to his thinking. By unlocking his chakra, he could become a sensor type and be able to sense our presence, and then we could talk to him. He could then find us and then we would be able to talk to him. Kakashi said with a smile on his face, though it was hidden by the mask he always wore. Exactly. That way all the proper channels are met since you're in the Anbu and can't reveal your identities to him. The aged leader explained. Yeah, that good and all, but what if he's not a sensor? Yugao asked. Let's hope he is, Kakashi said with a smile as he put his hand on his friend's shoulder. Yeah, I guess that's the only thing we can do, she replied with a smile. Flashback end. Both Yugao and Kakashi thought that it would be years till they found out if he was a sensor type. They didn't think that they would be able to meet him so soon. But they were also glad that they had this chance. I am assigning you an S-rank mission, Sarutobi said with a slight smirk. Here is the scroll, both of you read. He tossed them the scroll and waited for their reactions. Mission brief. 1 Kakashi Hatake and Yugao Azuki will be protection detail for 1 Naruto Uzumaki until the age of 6. They will be able to take other missions, but when not on leave or on another mission they will be protecting and watching Naruto. All pay of 100,000 Ryu, 8 will be paid to both each month. Sarutobi Hiruzen, 3rd Hokage. After reading the first sentence, Yugao ran up and hugged the man and cried. She had a chance. She could see and protect her little brother again. Kakashi also went and bowed to his superior and thanked him. I must warn you, he lives in a cave in the middle of the forest of death. So be careful. I'll send a summons if I require your services. I'll let you figure out the rest. This stays between the three of us, am I clear? He asked them and they both quickly nodded. Good, dismissed. Hi. Both the Anbu members shunshined out of the office and left leaves behind, which made the old man chuckled. He then looked at his crystal ball and saw Naruto still meditating in his cave. He stood up and walked to the pictures of the previous cages and looked at them with a sigh. I failed to keep him safe, but no longer will I stand for it. You have my word, Minato, he said with conviction and a fire in his eyes. In a mansion in Konoha. A young girl was currently sitting down on a mat writing calligraphy with her mother. She was around the age of 3 and was fairly small for her age. She was writing down symbols when she and her mother both felt the pulse of chakra. The mother of the girl looked up and thought that it felt familiar. It almost felt like she had known that chakra before, but it was slightly different. It wasn't the same as before. Kushina, she asked out loud as she looked at the direction of the chakra pulse. What did you say, Ka-chan? The little girl asked. Nothing, Hinata, she said as she rubbed Hinata's back, but still looked at the window. Nothing at all. It's been 8 months in total since Naruto's attack. He had been living in the forest of death and was almost always surrounded by animals. He had been training day and night trying to survive in the forest, and one could say that he was thriving. Currently, the blonde was walking through the forest and was being followed by 3 small baby foxes. He had been hanging around them for a while and even named them. He looked over his shoulder and smiled when he saw them playing with each other. Donnie, stop biting your brother's ear, he said to the orange fox who was currently biting the fox with a red fur's ear. Donnie looked at Naruto and pouted but let go of his brother's ear. Donnie was a small orange fox with white tips on his ears. He had bright orange eyes and was very energetic. His brother, who Naruto named Jangi, was a small red fox with splotches of black fur. He was more reclusive than his brother. Next to them was their sister, who was named Lucy. She was a unique fox that had orange and red fur with white tips on her tail. Naruto looked at the skulk of foxes that was behind him and smiled as he remembered the day that he had met his new friends. Flashback. Naruto was running through the forest. He looked over his shoulder and let out a sigh of relief. I finally got away from those giant snakes. He thought happily to himself. Ka-chan, why didn't you tell me they were over there today? He said to his mother figure. Well, I thought that you sensed them coming, she said with a smirk on her face. She had definitely felt the presence of the snakes and decided not to say anything. I just sensed big blobs of chakra. I didn't know they were poisonous snakes, he yelled as he looked at the lake in front of him. He sat down and started splashing water on his face to try and cool him down. While he was by the water, he felt 3 small presences behind him. He looked over his shoulder and saw 3 young foxes looking at him through the bushes. Naruto smiled and started getting excited. Ka-chan, look, it's a bunch of foxes, he shouted. Akari looked through the seal and smiled when she saw the baby foxes. I wonder where their mother is. Usually, they shouldn't be wandering around alone. Can I talk to them? Maybe they will like me. The boy shouts. I'm sure you can. Just try to approach them slowly, she said as she looked at the foxes closely. They aren't normal foxes. They look like they are from the shrine one, but why would they be here? Unless. Alright, thanks, Ka-chan. Naruto stood up and slowly started walking towards the group of baby foxes and crouched down. Hey little guys, he said in a whisper which made them all whimper a little bit. Naruto got scared and backed up. Wait, they are scared of how I smell. If I show that I'm not a threat, they won't be scared of me anymore, he reasoned to himself, much to the surprise of Akari, who was listening to his thought process the entire time. I'll be right back. So what's your plan, Kit? Well, I'm gonna find some fruit that I can give them. I don't have any on me. Man, I wish there was a way that I could store them on me, he said to himself as he went to find an apple or a piece of fruit. While he was searching, a red and gold fox came out of the bushes on the other side of the lake. She made her way to her kits and ate them. I'm glad that the plan is going well, she thought to herself. She was glad that they had finally found Naruto. I'm just glad to know that he finally passes the test and I can report back to the shrine. She smiled at her kits and they looked at her with wonder. She then heard rustles in the bushes and she dashed away, leaving them to be alone. Naruto made his way back to the foxes and stopped immediately. There was something else here, he thought as he looked around the area but didn't see anything. He shrugged his shoulders and placed the assorted fruits on the ground in front of the foxes. Here you go, he said as he pushed the fruit in front of the foxes. Slowly but surely, all three of them started to inch towards the food that was placed in front of them. The small orange fox took a bite out of the fruit and then yipped. It ran towards Naruto and started to him happily. The second fox to accept him was actually the orange and yellow fox. It ran and rubbed its head against his leg, which made him smile. After a while, the third and final fox slowly walked over and sniffed Naruto. It registered that he wasn't a threat and ed his nose. Yay, I have fox friends, he said happily, which made all the baby foxes yip in excitement. Well, I think even the summons want to give him the contract. Those foxes definitely weren't from around here. I recognize that taint of chakra anywhere. They are definitely baby kitsunes. The fox spirit thought to herself as she pondered in the seal what was going on back in shrine. She was the boss summons there, but it had been nearly 40 years since she had been back there. She hoped that her clan members were doing okay. Naruto was currently playing with the kits. He was having a blast with them as they ran around the clearing. I need to name them. Maybe I'll ask Ka-chan. Ask me what? She asked with a smile. Naruto jumped slightly because he didn't think that she would be listening right now. Well, I'm gonna need to name them, he said as he petted one of the foxes. That's a good idea, Kit. There are 2 boys and 1 girl with you right now, Akari said sweetly, which made Naruto's eyes widen. Ka-chan, how did you know that? He asked in amazement. The fox giggled and smiled while in the seal. Sweetie, I'm a fox, remember? I forgot I have a giant fox in my head. He shouted at the top of his lungs, which made the fox hiding in the bushes widen her eyes. So he does have Kyuubi-sama in him. We all thought we were going crazy. That would explain why he smells like foxes all the time and why he has whiskers on his cheek. She thought to herself as she watched her children playing with the container of her leader. Well, looks like we just got our first summoner. Alright, I have to name you guys, Naruto said as he sat down on the ground in front of the excited baby foxes. Okay, I'm gonna name you, Donnie. Do you like that? He asked the small orange fox with white tips on his ears. The fox yipped and ed his nose, which made him smile. Alright, I'll name you Jangi. He told the red fox, who also yipped. Naruto then looked at the final fox, who looked at him back. Ka-chan, they feel different for some reason. They aren't like the normal foxes in the forest. They have a different chakra to them. It makes them feel weird. So he realized it too then. I'll have to step up his training. So far we've only been doing chakra control. Thank goodness I taught him hand signs. She thought while he was playing with them again. Well, Naru, some animals are different from others. Sometimes they have a lot of chakra. She explained from his head. Oh, okay. I wonder what that animal is behind the bushes though. He asked as he pointed in the exact direction of the mother fox. It's been watching me the entire time we've been here, Ka-chan. He said as the fox who he was talking about simply stayed and watched him play with her kits. Naruto's seal. Akari looked at the fox and her eyes widened when she recognized it. That's the contract holder's daughter. Wow. She's grown up. Even had her own kits and everything. So that's why she's here. She's testing to see if he's worthy of being a summoner. Right, you are my friend. Akari looked over Kami sitting on a rock overlooking a crystal blue lake. She winked at her friend, who was clearly confused at what was going on. Kami-sama, what are you doing here? Akari asked as she walked over to her best friend. Well, I get bored watching over the universe. You know this, she said, which made the fox spirit sweat drop. So, I came here to talk to you. Well, what did you want to talk about? Oh, just the fact that you might want to up his training. The omnipotent goddess said with a smirk. He's only 3 years old, Kami-sama, Akari said with slight worry in her voice. I'm well aware of the boy's age, but he already has your Fox clan taking interest in him. Hell, with the amount of potential he has, I'd be shocked if they weren't. She said as she conjured up some drinks in a picnic blanket with a nice spread of food on it. Akari sighed as she grabbed one of the sandwiches that were on the blanket. She took a bite and slowly chewed it as she thought about what she could do. I guess. We've been in the forest for a solid 8 months. I can continue his chakra training, but what else should I teach him? She asked as she looked at her friend smirk at her. It's like there's so much I can teach him, that I can't narrow it down. I don't think he can use genjutsu. His mother was a kenjutsu master, his father was a fuinjutsu master, his grandmother was a. Yes, he has a rich lineage of parents and grandparents. Hell, even his great-grandparents are legends, but the point is Akari that you need to teach him. He needs to get strong and he needs to get strong fast. Cammy butted in before Akari could get another word in. She looked at her friend and smiled at her. You need to get him to be in 2 places at once. You have so much stuff to teach him that you need multiples of him. What, like a clone? She asked as she raised her eyebrow, but then her eyes widened as she realized what the goddess had implied. Shadow clones, she whispered, which made Cammy smirk. Now you're on the right track, but don't forget to train the body, Cammy said before vanishing from the mindscape. Alright, I'll keep training him in chakra control, and then I'll start him on jutsus. He's gotta get the clone and substitution. He's gotta get strong and get strong fast. I do wonder when he's gonna meet her though. Akari thought as she looked in the seal and conjured up a house for her to live in. It was much better than just laying on the ground in the seal. Normal world. Naruto and the Fox Kids had been playing together in the river for the last 20 minutes. They had been splashing each other and just having a good time. Even the fox in the bushes was enjoying herself. For the last 20 minutes, she had seen Naruto care for each of her kits. Playing with them, but not being too rough with them. In fact, he had even included Gengi, who was starting to move away from the group. She even liked the names that he had given them. He's truly our next summoner. He's caring, mysterious, isn't afraid to be rough, but also can be gentle. He won't put us or the clan in dangerous situations. She thought to herself. She was smiling internally at how well she had picked. After that conversation with Bobby the other day, I do wonder how the other half is doing. I'm sure they'll meet her eventually. After another hour of playing, the hiding fox made herself known to the group. All of her charges yipped and ran towards her. Even Naruto smiled at the golden fox. Hello, he said to the fox, who internally smirked. I had fun playing with your kits today, he said respectfully. He remembered being taught by Akari to be respectful to the animals. Especially in front of younger animals and their parents. He's even well-mannered. Well, I couldn't imagine anything less when you have Akari-sama living inside of you. She thought to herself as she walked over to Naruto to sniff him. Yup. Definitely smells like her. She then looked at him and ed his cheek, which made him giggle. I hope we can play again, he said to the fox family. The younger foxes all looked at the mother, who yipped and nodded her head. They all went over to Naruto on the cheek and then dashed into the forest. Flashback end. After the first few times when they visited, the mother fox, who Naruto named Camille, was slightly more cautious and observant when Naruto and the kids would play. Now, after 4 months of them playing and being together, she not only trusted him but even let him leave the area with the kits so that they could explore and have fun. When Naruto and the kits returned this time, they were greeted by not only Camille but 2 other foxes that were with her. One was about 2 feet tall and had white fur with orange highlights. Its most distinctive feature, however, was the 2 tails that were behind it. The other fox that was with them had midnight black fur with green slitted eyes. It was also around 2 feet tall, but this one had 3 tails behind it. So you have one of the healing foxes and messenger foxes. Interesting. They are definitely going to have him sign the contract. Akari thought as she looked at the scene that was unfolding in front of her. Naruto looked at the interesting looking foxes that were in front of him and his eyes widened. Wow, I've never seen foxes like that before. I didn't even know black foxes were a thing. Ka-chan, did you know that they were a thing? Naruto asked his mom but didn't receive an answer from her. Ah, So he arrives, the black fox spoke with a smirk on his face as he watched the blonde stumble back in surprise. You can talk, he yelled, which made all three foxes sweat drop. Yes, Naruto-kun, we can definitely talk, Kamili said with a smile on her face. So, every time I've tried talking to you, you could have answered me. She nodded her head, which made the boy sigh. Well, at least I'm not crazy. No, you're not crazy at all, in fact, you're very special. The white fox spoke in a very delicate and feminine manner. Why do you think I'm special? I mean, the only thing that's special about me is Ka-chan, and she's a giant talking fox that lives in my head. The blonde exclaimed, which made the eyes of the two other foxes widen. Is he talking about? The black fox asked as he looked over at Camilla, who nodded her head. Yes, Akari-sama is sealed inside of Naruto, Camilla said in a voice that held nothing but authority. Will this affect anything with your tests? The white fox said with worry in her voice. Hey, are you going to tell me what you're talking about? Naruto asked with curiosity as he rubbed the back of his head. You, young Naruto, are going to be the first fox sage. The black fox said with pride. Naruto's eyes widened when he heard this. He didn't know what any of those words meant, but all he heard was first and fox, so whatever it was had to be important. He looked at the three foxes and smiled. When do I start? He asked, which made all three foxes laugh. Well, first you need to sign the fox contract, Camilla said as she placed her front paws into different versions of hand signs. Suddenly a scroll popped into existence. Kamili unrolled it and motioned for Naruto to step forward. Okay, how do I sign it, and what does it do? The blonde asked as he walked towards the ancient-looking scroll. Well, a summoning contract allows for you to bring different animals into your world. You will be able to bring different kinds of foxes from the Kitsune Shrine, our home, to help you whenever you want. When you're older, you will be able to undergo special training that will allow you to become much more powerful, but that's for later. Camilla said as she gestured for Naruto to look at the scroll. So Naruto, do you accept? She asked him with a smile. Can I ask Ka-chan? The boy asked in a timid voice. He was starting to get overwhelmed by all the new information that he was being shown. There's always a catch to these kinds of things, so what's the catch? He asked, which made the foxes smile even more. Actually, Naru-kun, there is no catch with this, Akari said from his head, which made his eyes widen. What do you mean, Ka-chan? Everything has a catch. He thought to his mom so that the foxes wouldn't know what he's talking about. I know I told you that, and I'm sure you figured that out from living alone, but this is one of the exceptions. The Kitsune clan will always be there for you, and since I am their leader, I can definitely tell you that this deal is a once-in-a-lifetime offer. I would sign it, Naruto. Akari said with authority that left no room to argue. He didn't want to upset his mother, and this was the first thing he had ever heard her tell him to do something like that. So he walked over to the scroll and looked at Camilla and smiled. Ka-chan said that I should sign it, so how do I do it? He asked as he felt Akari send a happy aura of chakra through his body, which made him feel warm. All you have to do is bite your thumb and sign the contract in your blood. You just have to write your name on the paper and then you can summon us. Camilla explained. Naruto nodded his head and did as she told him to do. After a few minutes, he had finished signing the contract. Okay, so how do I do it? He asked as he wiped his thumb on his pant leg. Actually, Naru, we can do that when we get you home, Akari said. He nodded and explained what she said to the other foxes, who nodded their heads. Thank you for the opportunity to let me sign your contract, Kamili-sama, Naruto said as he bowed his head in respect. It's no problem, Naruto-kun. And it's Kamili-chan to you. Sama makes me feel old. She said with a smile on her face. Oh, I didn't introduce these two, she said as she gestured to the two foxes next to her. Young Naruto, I am Sade. I am a member of the Kitsune clan and specialize in information gathering and message delivery. The black fox said as he bowed his head. And I, Naruto-kun, am Vale. I am also a member of the Kitsune clan. I am head of the medical fox division and specialize in healing," said the white fox as she also bowed her head. "It was a pleasure meeting you all. I can't wait to see you all again," the blonde said with a smile. "Of course, young Naruto. Until then," Sade smiled and vanished in a poof of smoke. Vale walked up to Naruto and ate his cheek before disappearing in smoke as well. "Okay, goodbye," Naruto said before running off towards his cave. It took a solid 20 minutes to get back to his cave. Once he arrived, he noticed that something was slightly different, but couldn't place his finger on it. He shrugged his shoulders and fell onto his bed. He was instantly transported to the seal. Naruto's seal. Naruto walked across the field and to a wooden cottage that was in the middle of the field. He knocked on the door and was welcomed by the open arms of Akari. She smiled and hugged him tightly. "Good job becoming the very first fox summoner, Naru-kun," she said as she held him close. "Thanks, Ka-chan." He smiled and nuzzled his head deeper into her expansive cleavage. "No problem, Naruto." Both held each other close until Akari finally let him go. She then got up and transformed into some training gear. She wore a skin-tight black and red jumpsuit that had a window for the to breathe. "Since you are now a summoner, you will need to know a few things. Over the past 8 months, I have been training your body so that you can be able to meld chakra properly. Today I'm going to teach you your first jutsu," she said, and then immediately smiled when she saw Naruto have to restrain himself from shouting in happiness. Naruto was currently hopping through the trees of the forest of death holding what appeared to be a dead boar. He had been hunting it for the past couple of weeks and was very excited to finally get to eat it. "I did it, Ka-chan. I can finally eat this boar," he thought to his mother figure, who smiled internally. "I'm so proud of you, Naru. I know how much you have been trying to find and hunt down that silly boar, and now you can finally eat it and turn it into a stew," she told her container, whose mouth was watering at the thought of being able to finally eat something new. It's now been a year and a few months since the attack that led Naruto to meet Akari, and to say that he was a totally different person was a massive understatement. He was now a mid-genin level ninja who was able to take down large animals that would give most normal genin problems. He stood at a tall 3 inches 5 and weighed around solid 48 pounds. Most of his body weight was actually musical and he had very little baby fat, but he still had the normal deposits of it on his face. Akari had been very particular in what she let the blonde eat. She wanted him to have the perfect body so that he could be ready to move and fight at a moment's notice. Along with training his body, she had also taught him multiple different jutsus. She had taught him the Shadow Clone Jutsu, the Substitution Jutsu, Hega Jutsu, Earth Style, Headhunter Jutsu, Earth Style, Rock Wall, Wind Style, Great Breakthrough Jutsu, Wind Style, Giant Whirlwind Jutsu, Fire Style, Giant Fireball Jutsu, Fire Style, Fire Phoenix Jutsu, Water Style, Giant Water Ball Jutsu, Water Style, Water Whip Jutsu. She had mainly been focusing on trying to give him both offensive and defensive techniques so that in case he needed to, he could win in a fight. She had also taught him how to do the summoning jutsu so that he could summon the foxes regularly. Naruto continued to tree hop through the forest but couldn't help feeling like he was being watched by someone. He knew that he was a censor. Akari even told him that he was a very good one for his age, but he always felt like he was being watched by someone or something. Recently it had gotten so bad that he was getting paranoid. Akari of course knew that it was the 2 Anbu agents that had been tasked to watch him, but she didn't let Naruto know that. She also knew that they were friendly since she recognized their chakra signatures from her time in her previous host. When Naruto got back to his cave, he sighed to himself and started to cook the boar that he had caught. "What's wrong, Kit?" "Well, I can't help the feeling like I'm being watched. It's like I can sense them, but I can't see them. There are 2 of them and they have been around me for the past few months. They sometimes leave me alone for a couple of weeks and then they pop back up again. I can't stand it, but I can't see them," he internally yelled as he lit the fire put to roast the boar. Well, you know they're there, why don't you talk to them? Maybe they will answer you. She said with a smirk on her face. She knew that they weren't going to respond to him and it was just going to make him madder. I guess I can try to talk to them, he thought as he set up the steaks over the fire to cook the boar. Hello, is there anyone there? Yugao and Kakashi looked at each other with hope in their eyes. Finally, after 5 months of on and off shadowing him, he had finally caught on to them being there. Yugao was shaking with excitement. Is this it? Is this when I get to meet my little brother? She thought silently as she watched Naruto look around the room. So, you're not going to talk or come out? He asked out loud and got no response, which made him a little more frustrated. Fine. Be that way. He stomped over to his boar and watched as it cooked over the fire. After waiting for a solid 2.5 hours, the boar was finally ready to be eaten by the young child. He summoned a clone to help him carry the animal over to a stone ledge that he had carved out of the rock and began to cut slices of meat for himself. He placed the meat on a plate and put some of the greens that he had found in the forest. He then walked over to his wall where he had his wild spices and herbs and started seasoning his meat. He sat down and started to eat his dinner, but this time decided to try something new. Ka-chan. Yes, sweetie, she asked as she was preparing her own meal in the seal. You said that I was a sensor type, right? He asked as he picked up a piece of pork and bit into it. So, is he gonna unlock more of his sensing abilities? I wonder, she pondered as she smiled softly to herself. She had never told him all of his abilities. She went for the approach that he would discover them on his own when he experimented with his body and chakra. Yes, I did tell you I was a sensor type, what about it? Well, what if I put more chakra into it? What would happen? He asked as he continued to eat his dinner. Well, why don't you try it and find out? She said with a wide smile on her face. Alright, let's try this. Naruto placed down his plate much to the intrigue of Yugao and Kakashi. He then started flooding his senses with extra chakra and he gasped. He closed his eyes and was able to feel 2 chakra signatures that were previously unknown to him. He could also feel how their chakra felt. So there are 2 people in this cave with me, he whispered to himself as he stood up. Well, maybe they are hungry. He stopped the flow of chakra but found that he could still sense the 2 figures even with his eyes open. After hearing his statement, Yugao was giddy. She not only was going to meet her brother but also taste his cooking, which smelled wonderful from where she was in the room. She watched as Naruto fixed 2 more plates of food and walked over to her corner of the room. Here you go, I hope you like it. Your chakra feels really sparky. It's changing but it's still warm, he said as he placed Yugao's food on the ground. She waited for him to walk away before she revealed herself. He did it. He acknowledged my presence. He went up and talked to me. Meaning I can now talk to him. She thought as she took off her mask to fully smell the food in front of her. Kakashi was in a similar mood when Naruto walked over to him, though he tried to play it cool. Here you go, the blonde child of his sensei said. I hope you like it. And your chakra feels warm too, but not as sparkly. The child said with a smile. Once Naruto walked away from Kakashi, he was welcomed to the sight of a young girl about the age of 15. She had long purple hair and had a sword strapped to her back. She looked over at the blonde and smiled longingly at him. Naruto, she whispered quietly, which made him raise an eyebrow at her. Yay, he asked as he sat down to continue eating his food. What's wrong? You look so sad. No, I'm not sad, she said as she tried to wipe away tears. I'm happy, I'm so very happy. Yugao started walking over to the child and opened her arms so that she could hug him. He walked over to her and smiled. He wrapped his arms around her and leaned into her. She held him tight and started to softly cry as she held him like he was going to disappear if she let go. After a few minutes of hugging, she finally let go of the boy and smiled at him. You have no idea how much I've wanted to do that. How long I've wanted to hug you, talk to you, she said with the brightest smile on her face. What do you mean? He asked as he studied her face for a few moments. You could have said, hi, whenever you liked. He said as he tilted his head to the side in a confusing manner. I wish I could have, but I couldn't, Naru-kun, she said sadly. But why not? I think I can answer this one. Naruto turned around to see the second person he handed food to smile at him. He had gravity-defying gray hair and wore the same gray armor that the girl. He walked over to Naruto and also wrapped him in a long hug. After the hug, Kakashi looked at the boy and smiled at him. You see, we couldn't talk to you because we are special ninjas. We wear the masks so that you don't know that we are here. Kakashi explained. So then why are you talking to me now? Well, there are special rules that we have to follow. We can only talk unless directly being spoken to. You handed us food and walked up to both of us, which means that you established contact. We can talk to you now since you know we are there. Does that make sense? Yugao explained with a smile on her face. Yeah, that makes sense, he said as he continued to eat his food. He had grabbed his food and decided to sit next to Yugao because of how warm and nice her chakra felt. After finishing his food, he leaned into Yugao and smiled. You're really warm, he mumbled out to her. Why thank you, Naru, she whispered as she rubbed his head affectionately. So who are you guys? You aren't like the rest of the villagers since you haven't attacked me and you feel happy and nice. He asked as he leaned against Yugao and looked at Kakashi, who was smiling at the embrace. Well, my name is Yugao Azuki. I am 15 and I'm in Anbu. I can't tell you what mask I have since that's cat and dog, he said with a smile. Wait, how do you know that, Naru? Kakashi asked with a smirk on his face, though no one could see it. I saw your masks, and they are still out in the open, he said as he pointed to both of the masks which were lying on the floor. Kakashi and Yugao looked at each other and sweat dropped. Alright, well, you can't tell anyone, Yugao said with a surprising amount of authority in her voice. Okay, he said with a smile on his face. Though it's not like I have anyone to tell, everyone hates me because of Ka-chan. He mumbled out, which made both of the operatives freeze. Anyway, Yugao looked worriedly at Kakashi and simply shrugged his shoulders. Like I was saying, you can't tell anyone who we are when we wear the masks, but you can talk to us. I like to fight with my swords, I enjoy sushi, chess, and hanging out with my teammates. I hope you can accept me into your family. I was supposed to be your sister, but some stuff happened. She said as she was about to cry, but was stopped when she felt small hands whip her eyes. Don't cry, Naruto said with a pout on his face. It makes your chakra feel sad. I'll let you be in my family, but I have to talk to Ka-chan about it. Actually, Naruto, we need to talk to you about that. Who is this Ka-chan of yours? Kakashi asked as he raised his eyebrow. I trust them, Kit, you can tell them since they knew your mother. Akari said to her kid with a smile on her face. Okay, Ka-chan, Naruto thought with a smile on his face before he looked at Kakashi. Well, I know I have a giant fox in my belly. Kakashi and Yugao's eyes widened after he said that. He noticed their chakra spike and started waving his arms around. She's not bad like everyone says. She helped take care of me and helped me get strong. Don't worry, she's a good giant fox, he said as he was about to cry, though Akari was laughing in the seal. Don't take away Ka-chan, he cried as he let the tears fall. Yugao knew that Kushina was the container of the 9 tails. She also knew that when she was alive, they were the best of friends. While she didn't realize it till later in her life, Kushina had actually talked about the 9 tails quite often, people just didn't realize who it was. Kakashi on the other hand was slightly weary of the entire situation, but figured that if Minato didn't care that it talked to Kushina, then he shouldn't care either. Oh Naruto, don't worry, Yugao said as she tried to soothe the boy by rubbing his back. We won't take away your Ka-chan. I remember your birth, Ka-chan used to talk to her all the time, so I'm okay with it. She said with a reassuring smile on her face. And I remember that your 2-san didn't mind that she talked to the 9 tails, so I don't care either. Kakashi told the boy who was still sniffing. So, you're not gonna take away Ka-chan? He asked with watery eyes. No, Oto, we aren't gonna take her away. Yugao smiled as she watched the grin reappear on her younger brother's face. He hugged the Anbu agent, which made her smile even more. Thank you, Nei-chan, he whispered, which made Yugao's eyes widen. She could feel tears well up in her eyes and she hugged him tighter. Ma, do I not get an introduction and a hug? Kakashi asked in mock disappointment as he watched the two reunite for the first time. After some more hugs and tears from Yugao, Naruto was starting to get tired. He released Yugao and yawned, which showed Kakashi and Yugao his slightly longer canine teeth. Getting tired, Oto? Yugao asked with a smile on her face. Naruto nodded his head and pointed towards his mat with furs on it. If you want, you can sleep here since I don't know where you live. There are plenty of pelts here for you to use. He pointed to all the bulky furs that he had around the cave and smiled. All right, Naruto, but tomorrow we are going to take you out of the forest. We have 4 years of birthday gifts to give you. Kakashi said with an eye smile. Naruto looked at the teen with confusion all over his face. He looked at Yugao, who was still holding the small child. What's a birthday? One, he asked his big sister, who looked at him wide-eyed. Wait, you don't know what a birthday is? She shouted, which made Naruto nod his head. Yeah, but can we talk about it tomorrow? I'm really tired, he said as he got up to grab some fur pelts to use as blankets. He walked back over to Yugao and sat down in her lap.